Well, welcome back to Texas Rye Whiskey Studies for our National Rye Tournament, episode number 23. As today, we will be studying 10th Mountain Rye Whiskey. Coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas on Saturday, July 25th, 2026, where it is currently 100 degrees. This whiskey was on my original list for this tournament, but my son and I accidentally finished it a while back, and I misremembered the proof, thinking it was 90 proof and not available for this tournament, so I did not reorder it. But now it's here, and it can join the tournament. I have previously reviewed this whiskey about 4.5 years ago, and upon reviewing my notes, I decided it would be worthwhile to do a second review and see what's changed. This is another great patriotic whiskey. Now, this tournament bracket is the under 90 proof bracket, and so I'm sampling 14 ryes to see which are my favorites. After every second rye that I study, I do a head-to-head match. And so this is actually whiskey number 14, the last one on the list. Now, on a side note, before we get into this whiskey, today, the 25th of July, is the anniversary of this. No, actually, yesterday was the 24th. I couldn't get to it yesterday, but yesterday, the 24th, was the anniversary of the splashdown of Apollo 11. The first men to land on the moon returned home safely 55 years ago yesterday. Now, I was old enough to watch and understand, to read the newspapers at the time, and I, like most of my generation, was enthralled with the Apollo program. It is one of the greatest accomplishments of mankind in all of human history and in American history. I am looking forward to Americans returning to the moon in the Artemis program by NASA or in the SpaceX program under Elon Musk. This present generation of Americans, however, the younger crowd, particularly Gen X, I guess, I work with several guys who are Gen X, are skeptical and believe everything is fake and everything's a conspiracy theory. This saddens me greatly. This necktie that I'm wearing is in honor of the Apollo program, all those astronauts, all the people who worked on the program for so long. So we'll be dedicating this show to the NASA astronauts. Now, this whiskey is not listed as a straight rye, and I really don't understand why. On the label, it says it's at least 2 years old, and on the website, it's listed for $49.99, but you do have to add in the $20 shipping and taxes, so this is going to be just over $70 because I can't get it locally. It weighs in at 86 proof. Tasting notes. This is a very rye-forward whiskey with a great finish, but what makes this one stand out is the apple notes I was getting alongside the rye. And I thought that was unusual. Frequently with some scotches, I've gotten apple or pear notes, but this is the first time I remember getting apple with a rye. I gave it a score of 87, a letter grade for drinkability, and A-. But I will add, it made a killer old-fashioned. So if you like a very rye-forward whiskey, then this is it. The story and the bottle label should be attractive to soldiers, veterans, and those who love studying military history. So again, it's a patriotic whiskey. It makes, again, just a killer old-fashioned. Unique in my experience with ryes, actually. All right, let's go into the details. Established in 2014 by Ryan Thompson, Stephen Jacobs, Director of Sales and Distribution, is himself a 10th Mountain Division veteran. A couple of things related to their geography does affect their whiskey. The altitude where they make this, Vail, Colorado, 8,000 feet, and they're using pure Rocky Mountain snowmelt water. Along with their altitude comes a temperature that can vary 40 to 50 degrees in a day, from sunrise to late afternoon. You have a thin atmosphere, and very cold nights, and then a lot of sunshine, so you can get very warm in the afternoon. This distillery is active in Veterans Affairs, donating to over 20 charities that have veteran ties, something as simple as the VFW Post 4600, uh, uh, National Infantry Museum in Columbus, Georgia, my wife's hometown, and Fort Drum Volunteer Support Fund. So there's a lot of charities that they contribute to. And the 10th Mountain Light Infantry Division is posted at Fort Drum, New York. They support the 4th Infantry Division organization as well, because the 4th Infantry Division is based in Colorado. So let's ask the question, why does this whiskey company name themselves after the 10th Mountain Division if the 10th is in New York and the 4th is in Colorado? U.S. Army has a terrible habit of moving units all over the country, deactivating that at times, bringing them back somewhere else later in time. So a little bit of Army history is needed here. The 10th Mountain Division was formed in Colorado during World War II, specifically close to Vail, to send them to Europe and fight in the mountains. Mountain warfare requires a very specific set of skills that are different from fighting in other geographic regions. Camp Hale was constructed in 1942 to start training the men who joined the 10th Mountain, and it is 20 miles from Vail, Colorado. In recruiting for this mountain division, the Army was smart. They advertised for men familiar with the mountains and skiing. So the Army knew about the German mountain troops, the Alpine troops of World War I, and the Gebirgs Division of World War II. So they wanted something similar. In January of 1945, the 10th Mountain Division deployed to Italy and fought in the Apennine Mountains until Germany surrendered in May. So in 114 days of continual fighting, the division lost 992 men killed in action, 4,154 wounded in action. It was a brutal war in the mountains of Italy. After the war, the surviving veterans came home and founded over 62 ski resorts. They started ski schools, ski magazines, and kick-started cities like Vail and Aspen. The GI generation, veterans of the 10th Mountain Division, started the winter sports boom in America. And now, in their honor, 10th Mountain Whiskey Company is producing some very fine whiskeys. So for history, 5 out of 5, which is 1 point higher than last time. I've kind of adjusted my history scale a little bit. Bottle, label, and marketing. I have seen some internet ads for this whiskey. It's how it came to my attention. And it's not sold locally in Fort Worth, so I had to go to their website and order it. There are several reviews for it, and their bourbon is usually the one that's advertised, not the rye, and that's actually common in the whiskey business. And the bourbon seems to have the better looking bottle and label, but I still think the rye label is pretty good. And the bottle comes with this dog tag here, which is awesome. And it's got on the dog tag, distiller, I think it says Schaub batch, I think that's 11, bottled 1225 of 25. Wow, Christmas. It's bottled on Christmas. There you go. Now, on the label, you've got a set of skis there. And you've got the soldier down the bottom, and he's walking carrying his skis. And you got a little mountain in the background there. And there's lots of good information on here. It says, aged in new oak barrels for 2 years on there. And it's got the proof, 86 proof, Vail, Colorado, 43% alcohol, high rye, altitude 8150. So I like the fact that they give the altitude, because I'm serious. Altitude makes a difference. I've had several Colorado whiskeys now, and the altitude thing is very real. Just like Scotch whiskeys that are made on the coast produce a certain flavor to them, I think you get a similar effect with altitude. So the bottle has I think it's a wood cap now. It used to be plastic, and it does have a rubber stopper. It's clear glass, round, tall, and skinny. Short shoulders, long neck. You got black and red lettering. A little bit of kind of an off red, maybe. So, all in all, the label is very helpful. Not super attractive, but functional with some unique features there. So all in all, I'm going to say 4 out of 5 for the bottle and label, and that's the same score I gave it last time. Appearance of this whiskey. This is a medium gold color there in the glass. There you go. So that's a 3 on my scale. Composition. The mash bill's on the website, and it says 69% rye, 27% corn, 4% malted barley, aged for 2 years in new charred oak barrels at 8,150 foot elevation. And 5 years ago, I said that it was aged for a year. So that's when it was fairly new, and they were putting it out in a hurry. But now it's 2 years. And again, that brings up the question, why is this not a straight rye? It meets the definition as far as I can tell. And 43% ABV or 86 proof. So it actually has a lot of clarity. So for composition, 14 of 15 points, which is 1 higher than last time. All right, now for the nose. It's not super strong. I do get rye notes, grassy, minty. Now, I'm getting more on the nose than I got the other day when I did the preliminary scoring. So this has got a stronger nose than it did the other day. Some days my nose works better. Last time, I gave this a 7, which was the kind of my average score. You know, if I can't smell anything, it gets a 7. And that's what I was going to give it this time. But I'm going to up that to an 8 because today, that nose is really pretty good. I'm getting a lot more on the nose, and so it has an excellent rye nose. So you get those rye notes, mint, pine needles, definitely. So that's a very good rye nose, 8 out of 10. So that will adjust my score up by 1 point. Let's get to the tasting. Cheers to the 10th Mountain Division, to the 10th Mountain veterans, and also cheers to the Apollo 11 crew for a safe splashdown. Oh yeah. This is a beautiful dose of rye, mint, grass, pine needles, true to the nose. Little sweet, there's a sweet element there like caramel. See, one of the reasons I like ryes is they're just not quite as sweet as most bourbons are. And it really tamps down on the sweetness, but there's still some there. And so this is a beautiful combination for somebody like me. So it's a good combination of sweet and spicy. I did get some notes of apple, like green apple maybe. So that's the fruit that I'm getting, and this is the first time I've ever gotten an apple note from a rye. Maybe. Hmm. That's interesting. I think maybe um, I've gotten some lemon and orange on some other ryes, but this is the first time for apple. This is really quite nice. And I'm gonna bump this score up. I gave it a 22, which was one less than last time. I'm gonna bump it up to 23, which is the same as last time. And here's the deal. A lot of times, if you evaluate a whiskey from a neck pour, which is exactly what I did the other day, it's just not safe for me to do that. The neck pour on whiskeys frequently does not taste the same to me as the rest of the bottle. And so I should have not done that. All right, so we've now bumped this score up twice. So that's a 23 of 25. This is a very good rye. Versatility, flexibility. Again, it's excellent, neat. It's got strong enough flavors and enough of, well, I don't think I discussed mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Right. Okay, I skipped a step here. The mouthfeel, it's not thin, a little bit creamy, a little bit oily. Get a nice low level burn. It's a little bit more than just tingles. And it does have a long lasting finish that includes those rye notes. The apple notes are there. The pine needle notes, lingering tingle from the burn. So all those flavors really build up on the finish. So I'm giving this a 14 of 15, which is 1 point more than last time. Now I wonder, again, there was an age difference between this bottle and my first bottle of this rye that I had 5 years ago. So that extra year might have actually improved this. So mouthfeel, burn, and finish, 14 out of 15. All right, now for versatility, flexibility. Again, it's excellent, neat, and I think it's got enough going for it that it would hold up to ice if you must. Now, the first time I reviewed this, I was not doing cocktails at all. And so no cocktail for this. However, now I'm doing cocktails. So the other day, I did make an old fashioned, but I did something that I've never done with a rye before. I added some green apples and muddled them along with Angostura bitters, a little bit of simple syrup, and I must say that turned into a beautiful old fashioned. And my wife liked it as well. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Stand by and I'll go make an old fashioned and come right back. And I'm back with another old fashioned. I had to change the recipe just a little bit in a couple of ways. One, I was out of green apples, and so we used red apples to muddle up a little bit. But also, my Angostura bitters is getting low, and remarkably enough, I think there's a supply issue with Angostura. There's two of my three liquor stores that I frequent have been out of Angostura bitters for a long time. I mean, several months. And I inquired once and they said, yeah, there was a supply issue. So I'm not sure what's up with that. But so I've used Peychaud bitters, which are normally also used in Sazerac cocktails, I think, which is a rye-based cocktail. So I figured, couldn't hurt. But I've never done Peychaud bitters before. So here we go. And that still works. That's pretty good. I put a little bit less simple syrup in this time than I did the other day. And this is leaning into the bitters a little bit. I think I did three shakes of the bitters. So this is pretty good. I don't think it's quite as good as the one I had the other day. So I might need to do one more dash of simple syrup. The apples are not quite as strong because, again, I'm using the red apple instead of the green. That might have made a difference. So all in all, this is pretty good. Not quite as good as the one I had the other day. Now, price, value, and availability. $49.99 on the website, 10th Mountain, or about $4 more than it was 5 years ago. So yeah, there's a little bit of inflation going on there. And then you add the $20 shipping fee, and it's just over 70 bucks. Now that's pretty high price for a rye, but I am willing to pay for the name and the history behind the name and the causes to which they contribute. So 8 out of 10, which is the same as last year. Oh, and the versatility, flexibility, 5 out of 5. That was the same as last time as well. Bonus points, the story, the way they help veterans, the label, the quality of the whiskey, everything combined, 5 out of 5 bonus points like last time. This gives me a score of an 89, an adjusted score, because I added 2 points, and that is the same as last time, actually. So there you go. That's the same score as last time. Letter grade for drinkability. I gave this an A minus both times, but I'm taking that minus away. I think this is really an outstanding rye. So I think it deserves that A. So it's a very good rye forward rye whiskey. The story, the bottle, the label, it's all attractive to soldiers, veterans, and those who love military history. And it's a darn good rye. Absolutely. Makes this great old fashioned. So I think this is, I'm going to highly recommend this. Next up, well, it'll be time to do a one-on-one, head-to-head blind match between the Powers Irish Rye and the 10th Mountain Rye. That will be the final match of round one. And I've already started round two, right? And that's when I discovered, oh no, I'd left out a couple of ryes. So this will be a round one level match. And then the winner of this will take on some of the others in round two. For now, celebrating the recovery of Apollo 11 back in 1969. Yesterday, the 24th, was the anniversary of that. And celebrating 10th Mountain Division. This is Texas Rye Whiskey Studies for Stab the Dragon Productions out here.